Good morning, Commissioners. Steve Naraki, Strategy Office. For the Justice System update today, if we could please pull that up. We wanted to do this in three parts. First, we're going to skip ahead in the presentation, if okay with you, Mr. Chairman, to the hiring and recruitment update, which Mr. Herman will provide for the Sheriff's Office. I'll then jump to an update on the 5-point plan, and then following that, can provide an update on any other questions that the board has with the rest of the Justice System update or the jail maintenance update. I don't know, Mr. County Manager, did you have any comments before we jumped in? Okay.
No, I'll wait.
Okay, can we please advance to slide 15, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Herman for the hiring update in the Sheriff's Office.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. Kenneth L. Herman, Jr., Chief HR Officer for Fulton County. As we have been providing you updates during the course of this engagement with the Walls Group on assisting us with hiring detention officers into the jail facility, what you see before you and what's in your packet is where we are historically since we started back in November, and we used those first 2 months, November, December, to really get all the ducks in a row and started the actual engagement with recruitment and placements in January. As you can see, the top chart illustrates that for the first 6 months of the year, so far, we've hired 48 detention officers and or deputies in jail facilities. But unfortunately, during that same time, we've had about 34 separations, which brings us a net increase of 14 jail staff, sworn jail staff for that period of time. And then I'm also projecting that we will lose another 4 because we do have 4 separations that are pending in the month of May that will fall off at the next payroll run. So we'll have a net of 10 new hires. The second chart actually shows the Walls activity specifically, that how many applicants that they've engaged with, how many packets, employment packets they've forwarded to the Sheriff's Office to do his process of his community review, agility, and the like, and then what has ultimately resulted in new hires from that engagement. And as you can see, we've, out of the Walls Group hiring specifically, there's a total of 15 new hires that have derived from the candidate that Walls have sent to the sheriff. I'll stop here, Commissioners, and ask if you had any other questions. And just one side note, and just because I know Commissioner Thorne, you asked about it 2 meetings ago, and I have the data. The average time to hire the sheriff is looking at 136 days to hire from start to finish, which is a little longer than what we do in the county, which is 60, but we acknowledge that he has a much more tedious process as it relates to background checks and community checks as well. So I just wanted to get that to you, Commissioner Thorne.
Commissioner Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the update. Just a couple of questions. The people that were, you're talking about the difference between people coming in and the separations, and obviously I don't want to get into any sensitive information about anybody's separation in particular, but when people are, of the people that I guess are voluntarily leaving, do we have sort of some sense of what the reasons are? In other words, are these longtime people who are dissatisfied? Are these new people who aren't working out? Is it because of the benefits package or the hours or the jail conditions, or do we have any sort of sense of why people are kind of leaving at such a fast pace?
We do have a general sense. Unfortunately, we have not received that specific data from the Sheriff's Office. And how we get that data, Commissioner, is that those individuals are asked to complete an exit survey voluntarily, of course, and they do provide us feedback. I just have not looked at that in quite some time to provide you a good sense of whether it's benefits, whether it's the conditions in the jail, or whether it's just a new offer that they're exploring in their careers. So I'll have to take that as. And
Yeah,
come back
I
to
think
you.
it would be good because, we talk about not just hiring, but hiring and retention. So it's one thing to track and say, 773 people filled out an application, which that top line of data in the bottom chart, I don't think is particularly helpful because that's just talking about essentially how many people bought a lottery ticket. Like, lots of people can apply. That doesn't mean that really much. So I don't know that really guides us in terms of understanding what's happening and how it's all going, but that's a conversation for another time.
Okay.
But I do think focusing on the retention is an important piece. We have to know if what we're putting in place in terms of benefits and salaries, working conditions, et cetera, are working or not.
Right. And I'll remind you, Commissioner, and I'm sure you'll fully you remember this, but I think in February the board adopted a $10,000 retention bonus and a sign-on bonus for the individuals that are 100% assigned at the jail facility, and we do see that has started to slow the separations. As you can see, we had a big uptick of separations in the month of April, and that has been cut in half in May. And now you're talking about 4 pending in June. So we could attribute that to the retention bonus as well as some other factors. But again, I just have to do a little bit more detail and dig in to get you some more precise information.
Thank you. That would be good. And then one last thing. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, the number of packets coming from Walls to the sheriff's office has dropped off pretty significantly. It seems like the percentages are better, right? It seems like we're getting more hires, 4 out of 10 versus 0 out of 49, right? So there's some improvement in terms of the percentages, but the number of packets is going significantly down. Is that specific to a change in procedure?
Actually, it is. I think Walls, when we had an on-site meeting with Walls, I think the first week of May, and during that conversation with Walls, the sheriff's office, they made significant tweaks to the process, which led to less packets coming to the sheriff as indicated in the charts in the months of May. But we believe now, while it might be less or a little bit more in the future, you could have a lot more better quality candidates. I think that's the key thing that the sheriff was indicated, that he wanted better quality candidates. So as we make those adjustments, we are hoping to see better quality candidates and more selections as well, because that's a big thing. We want more individuals hired versus the number of packets that come to the sheriff or the number of interactions that Walls may have.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It sounds like we're at least starting to move in a good direction. So I look forward to some additional information, but thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, Commissioner Ellis is on the, Commissioner Ellis, followed by Commissioner Thorne, followed by Vice Chair Abdul Rahman. Commissioner Ellis?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Can you all hear me?
No, we cannot hear you.
Can't hear me.
Oh, we can hear you. Oh, sorry.
Much better.
All right, so you can hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So, Mr. Herman, do we know, we allocated about, a little under 20 million for this net to 200 new hires of folks doing detention work. How much of that has been spent year to date?
I don't know if my finance team could help me out with that dollar amount. And good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, Commissioner Ellis. To date, for the recruitment and retention, it's been about $725,000 to date.
Okay. Of a roughly, it was about 18, was that how much we had allocated to this total? 18, 19 million?
16,876. I'm $16,876,000.
Okay, 16.8, and we are sitting here on June 17th, and we've expended 720,000, you said?
725.
725. All right, that's an abysmal result, by any stretch of the imagination, certainly. And this net 14 is an abysmal result, as well. When did we approved it in, at the time of the budget cycle, when was this actually started to be acted upon? Was it late March? or early April?
Commissioner, I suspect it was early April that the sheriff rolled out the initiative to his officers, and then we had to do a small little reset and had to reissue it in the month of May. And that has now has fully, what's the word I'm looking for, has fully executed all of those retention agreements for those officers who opted in to accepting the retention agreements.
Okay. And so we've spent 725 to date, made very little progress here. We know, and we established up front that this, and we heard this from our, from our federal monitor, we've heard it, seen it in the report back, that this was the number one issue to address within the jail in terms of safety, et cetera, you name it, was more people doing these detention services within the actual facility. And we set this target of net 200. We're over halfway through the year, and we've made next to no progress despite allocating significant funds and very little of these funds actually being expended, and on the program only starting in April. So this is extremely frustrating, for everyone that this has been such a slow movement of activity. I had a question. I also, just to sort of put this in perspective of cost, and the impact of this not being acted upon. I believe we had received a report, and maybe it'll come back later, but how much are we on track to spend for repair of locks that basically have been repaired and then turn around and get destroyed again because the doors are left open? Is it roughly $3 million? Do I have my number right, Mr. Davis, if you're there?
He's not here.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, can you confirm that number is correct?
Yes, sir. And Mr. Davis is stuck in traffic, but around 3 million.
Around 3 million. So that's the kind of impact that this not being acted upon has. We're layering money over money, not because of the facility itself, because we don't have people in there doing the work of detaining the inmates properly and having adequate supervision. And while I have a certain degree of potential interest in why people may be leaving or not, that the operation of the jail, as we've talked about before, is the sole responsibility of the sheriff. And the sheriff has the responsibility, just like any other supervisor, of creating working conditions for their employees, esprit de corps, et cetera, so that people don't want to leave. So that's the stuff that needs to occur, is that there needs to be better management of the facility. We need to, when you said the speed in which we were getting people through the system to hire, you said is 138 days. Is that what you said, Mr. Herman?
136.
136. What's the traditional process speed for us to hire somebody at the county level in general?
Our goal is 60 days.
60 days. And part of the reason we engaged Walls was to shorten this process, correct?
That's correct.
And it hasn't shortened the process. Is that correct?
In all honesty, Commissioner, I have not looked back at data that was pre-Walls to tell you what our time frame was. So let me take that as a takeaway to come back next board meeting, to tell you whether or not it's shortened or lengthened.
Okay. So net takeaways right now, 136 days. We don't know if that's shortened or not. And we've expended only $725,000 that was allocated for this particular program. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Thorne, How much is left of the amount that we appropriated for this purpose? 16.1? Is that right?
Commissioners, we did repurpose a portion of those funds to fund the additional security staff for Allied recently. That was 1.9 million of that amount. So we're probably closer to 13, having about 13, maybe 14 remaining.
Remaining. That could be reprogrammed, correct?
It
If
could
the
be.
board chose to do so.
Well, we've made a commitment on the a portion of that for the retention bonuses. They are being paid out in each pay cycle. So there's a portion of that we will continue to incur for the $10,000 bonus that was offered to current jail-related detention staff, and then new hires that come in that work in the jail. So we will continue to spend some of that. But yes, we could repurpose the portion that we do not expect to use on new positions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.